Taking care of my younger siblings was always something I had done naturally. As the oldest sister out of 4, it was almost instinctual to look after my brothers and sister. But when our parents fell ill, it wasn't just a matter of watching over them anymore. It was about survival. Our family thrift shop had been our sole source of income for years, and without my parents being able to work, everything fell on my shoulders. My parents, Elizabeth and George, had always been hard-working people. The thrift shop had been their dream for as long as I could remember, a cozy little place nestled on a busy street corner in our small town. It was where my siblings, Annie, Peter and Sam, and I had grown up, learning the value of hard work and the importance of community. The shop was more than just a business to us. It was a part of our family, a part of who we were. But when Mom and Dad got sick, everything changed. It happened so suddenly. One day they were fine, bustling around the shop, chatting with customers, and the next, they were bedridden, unable to even muster the strength to get out of bed. The doctors were baffled. There was no clear diagnosis, just a gradual decline that left them weak and exhausted. At first, I tried to manage on my own. I thought it would only be temporary, that they would get better soon and everything would go back to normal. But as days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, it became clear that this wasn't something that would go away easily. My parents needed rest, and without them, the shop needed me. I had always helped out at the thrift shop after school and on weekends, but this was different. I was now responsible for everything, managing the inventory, handling the finances, dealing with customers, and making sure my siblings were taken care of. It was overwhelming, to say the least. I was only 19, barely out of high school, and suddenly I was running a business and taking care of a household. There was no time for anything else. My life became a cycle of working at the shop during the day, taking care of my parents and siblings in the evening, and collapsing into bed at night, only to do it all over again the next day. I missed my parents terribly. Even though they were still with us, it felt like I had lost them in a way. They were always so full of life, so vibrant and strong. And now they were shadows of themselves, confined to their beds, unable to do the things they loved. I could see the pain in their eyes, the frustration of not being able to help, and it broke my heart. But I couldn't let them see how much it was affecting me. I had to be strong for them, for my siblings. They needed me, and I couldn't let them down. It wasn't long before the exhaustion started to catch up with me. The long hours, the constant stress, the never-ending list of responsibilities. It was all taking its toll. I was running on empty, barely able to keep my eyes open most days. But there was no one else who could do it, no one else who could take over. I had to keep going, no matter how tired I was. One day, a customer came into the shop. She was an older woman, with kind eyes and a gentle smile. She had been a regular at the shop for years, always stopping by to chat with my parents and browse through the shelves. That day, she noticed how worn out I looked, how I seemed to be struggling just to keep up with everything. She pulled me aside and asked if I was okay. I tried to put on a brave face, to brush it off and tell her I was fine, but she wasn't fooled. She saw right through me, saw the exhaustion and the worry that I was trying so hard to hide. She listened as I told her about my parents, about how they had fallen ill and how I was trying to keep everything together on my own. When I finished, she looked at me with such compassion that I felt my eyes start to sting with unshed tears. I hadn't realized how much I needed someone to talk to, someone who understood what I was going through. She took my hand in hers and told me about something that had helped her through a difficult time in her own life. something called manifestation. She mentioned Neville Goddard, a teacher and writer who had a unique approach to manifestation, and how his techniques had changed her life. At first, I didn't know what to think.
Manifestation?
It sounded like something out of a self-help book, something too good to be true. But as she explained it to me, something inside me started to stir. She told me that it wasn't just about wishing for things to be different. It was about changing the way you thought, the way you perceived the world. It was about believing that what you wanted was already yours, about seeing it so clearly in your mind that it became your reality. She gave me a few books to read, and as soon as I had a moment to myself, I started devouring them. I learned about visualization, about imagining the life you wanted as if it was already happening, about feeling the emotions of that life as if it were real. It sounded simple, almost too simple, but the more I read, the more it started to make sense. I had nothing to lose by trying it, and everything to gain. That night, after putting my siblings to bed and checking in on my parents, I sat down and closed my eyes. I pictured my parents healthy and strong again, the way they used to be. I imagined them getting out of bed, laughing and talking, bustling around the shop like they always had. I imagined the relief I would feel, the weight lifting off my shoulders as they took over the shop again. I pictured our family sitting around the dinner table, happy and whole, with no worries hanging over our heads. I did this every night before bed, and every morning when I woke up. At first, it felt strange, almost like I was playing pretend. But as the days went on, it started to feel more real. I began to notice little things. Mom seemed to have a bit more energy. Dad's appetite was starting to come back. They were small changes, but they gave me hope. As the weeks passed, those small changes started to grow. Mom was able to sit up for longer periods of time, and Dad started to move around the house more. They were still weak, still recovering, but there was a noticeable difference. They were getting better. 1 month after I started practicing manifestation, I came home from the shop to find my parents sitting at the kitchen table, talking and laughing like they used to. My heart swelled with joy and relief. It was as if the dark cloud that had been hanging over our family had finally lifted. They told me they were feeling much better, that they were ready to start helping out at the shop again. I couldn't believe it. It was everything I had been hoping for, everything I had been visualizing, and now it was actually happening. My parents were on the road to recovery, and our family was slowly getting back to normal. The day they returned to the shop was one of the happiest days of my life. The customers were thrilled to see them back, and the shop was filled with laughter and warmth once again. I could finally breathe, knowing that things were going to be okay. I didn't have to carry the weight of the world on my shoulders anymore. I had my parents back, and together, we could handle anything. Looking back on that time, I'm still amazed at how much things changed, and how quickly it all happened. I truly believe that it was the manifestation techniques that made the difference. It wasn't just about wishing for things to be better. It was about believing that they could be, and taking the steps to make it a reality. It taught me the power of the mind, and the importance of holding on to hope, even when things seem impossible. Our family is stronger now than ever before. My parents, Elizabeth and George, are back to running the shop, and I've gone back to being their helper, along with Annie, Peter, and Sam. We've been through a lot, but it's only made us closer. And I know that no matter what life throws at us, we'll get through it together. I'm so grateful to that customer who took the time to talk to me, to share her knowledge and experiences. She changed our lives in ways I never could have imagined, and I'll always be thankful for that. In the end, It wasn't just about the shop, or the money, or even the health of my parents. It was about our family, about the love and support we have for each other, and the strength that comes from that bond. And it's about the power of belief, and the amazing things that can happen when you refuse to give up hope. Now, whenever I'm faced with a challenge, I remember what I learned during that difficult time. I remember to visualize the outcome I want, to feel it as if it's already happened, and to trust that everything will work out the way it's meant to. And more often than not, it does.